I'm going to show you how I set up my agent harness for building conversational agents with Rasa using Claude Code, a Rasa MCP server, and some markdown files. We're going to use this harness to build an airline assistant. The one my airline has is actually pretty slick. It's available on WhatsApp and it's already logged in, but the conversation just feels like filling out a form. And if you say anything off script, it's completely lost. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the coding harness and we're going to build out our airline agent. So the first thing I'll show you here is I've got a couple of files here in this directory. The first one just defines this as a UV project and just says that, gives it a name, a basic version, and says which Python version and Rasa version I want to use. Very straightforward. I like to use UV. It's just a fast, clean way to manage dependencies in Python. The skill file that's also in here we'll look at in just a second. But first things first, we will just install everything using UV sync. Okay, wonderful. So now we have Rasa installed into this project. And now I can set up the first piece of my coding harness, which is the Rasa MCP tools. So this includes some Rasa documentation, some predefined Rasa skills, and some actually stateful, actions that it can take for me, like training my model, having a conversation with my trained agent, those kinds of things. So let's boot that up first. So we'll do UV run Rasa tools init, and this just starts up a little wizard that we can use to configure our Rasa tools. So yes, we're going to be running it locally. We're going to download the documentation, and I'm going to use Claude Code. So we will do that. Yes. And then we're going to install everything here. So it's downloaded a bunch of skills and set up an MCP server for me. So now if I look here, actually, let's just take a look at that. So we have this mcp.json, which Claude Code will pick up so that it knows it has an MCP server with some tools that it can talk to. This is the Rasa MCP tools, which lets it do things like train the model and talk to it and validate the files and all those kinds of things. And there are also a bunch of skills in here. So we can look here. We have a bunch of, predefined Rasa skills. And one of the ones that I had in here was the skill.md is actually for greeting users. So I realized that there was actually a missing skill for defining how to start the conversation with a custom greeting. So we're just going to copy that one in. So we have all these default Rasa skills that we got for free. And I'm going to create my own one here. So we're going to do that. Claude skills, and we'll call it Rasa greeting users. And then we'll move this skill.md into there. So that looks good. And if you look, for example, here, writing custom actions, yeah, these all follow the same pattern. So it's just a skill.md in there. And if you want to just take a look, we can see the top of the file there. So this is a standard sort of Anthropic style skill definition with, some front matter in YAML and then a markdown file with some instructions. So now we have MCP tools and a bunch of skills in our harness. The other thing we're going to add is a Claude.md file, right? So let's take a look. What do we have here? We're going to create one. And this is actually a really important part, in my view, of building a good harness is your productivity working with a coding agent just goes through the roof if you give it a way to inspect its own work and validate that the fixes that it has implemented or the features that it's implemented actually do what they're supposed to do, right? So we're just going to set up a simple set of instructions here in my Claude.md file to tell it to do that, to basically always do that validation loop as it's implementing things. Great. So this is just my preferred way of working with one of these things. Whenever you implement something, go have a few conversations to see that it does what it's supposed to do, and just report those back to me in a way that I can easily skim them and understand that that the changes happened as intended, right? So if we put this in the inner loop, in the tight inner loop of development, then things will just go much faster because Claude Code can see its own mistakes and fix them. So great. We will save that. And now we have our coding harness complete. So let's boot up code. And yes, I wanted to use the MCP server, of course. Okay. So we are Okay, so we're going to start simple. We're just going to tell it to um, come up with a custom greeting and come up with you know, some hard coded user profile information to do that. Okay, so now I've told it some things about this skill that I want it to build. So it's for upgrading to a better travel class, a better seat. But what's important is that we maintain this functionality that, I'm already logged in, my bookings are already there in context, so that when I say something like, hey, are there any business class seats available on my flight today, that it already knows and it doesn't ask me for extra information that it should already know the answer to. So let's let it rip. Cool. So it looks like we have a working implementation here. So we have a couple of transcripts. Hi, Alan. Great to see you back. I'd like to upgrade my trip to London. My ability. Okay, so that looks okay. I mean, maybe I would like the option to actually pick a specific seat, but let's see. Okay, my flight today. That's good. So good that it understands that, which flight I'm flying on today. Um, okay, it's funny that it seems to really be assuming that I can always pay with miles, which in my experience is not the case. So we'll probably need an option to pay with cash. So let's try that. Um, okay, and here it says that I come my Tokyo trip, business. Okay, and no available seats. No. Yes, okay, so after cooking for a little while, let's see what we've got here. Here's a transcript. Business. Oh, interesting. It says here something went wrong. I've completed my research but couldn't provide a final answer within the allowed steps. Interesting. So something went wrong there. Not sure what, but interesting one. Yeah, okay, I realize that. Yes, fix it. I only half read what it said, but I guess that's why they call it vibe coding. Cool. Okay, so I'm looking at the latest transcripts. It looks pretty good. Here the user is just rejecting that they don't want to spend, $4,000 on an upgrade. This one here, this user's going to premium economy. That's a pretty good rate for such a long flight, so probably worth it. Very nice. This looks very promising. So here we go. The harness is working nicely for us. Now let's try out the agent properly and see what we learn. Okay, now we've built the first version of our agent, and let's have a conversation with it and see what it feels like. So I've started up the Rasa inspector where I can have a conversation with my agent, and it started the conversation for me and gave me a nice greeting. So let's see if this works. That was almost too easy. If you want to try this out yourself, there's a link here with steps to set up the harness for yourself. Have fun.